All right. Episode 289. We are getting real close to 300, Adam. Robinho will be joining us shortly. And this podcast was very close to being a very different tone, barring the last 3 or 4 minutes of theatrics yesterday at the Amex to continue to pile on the absolute curse that Graham Potter seems to suffer every time he revisits. How are you feeling today? How is life in Adam's world, and how are you feeling after that insane turnaround?
Life is busy and chaotic in equal measure, but yesterday was. I don't know what to think about yesterday. I tell you what, though, I watched 2 games of football yesterday. I watched the Brighton game and I watched the Copa del Rey final. And both games basically ended with outside the box screamers from sides that were down, losing a game and basically scored the winner. And I think I just witnessed Manchester United scoring the 95th minute to equalise with Bournemouth, which is massive for us.
That is massive. Lovely stuff.
So that's a good thing. The end of the games of football yesterday was incredible. And I mean, you were at the Brighton game, right? The switch of emotion between, I guess it was in how many minutes was it?
It's the 89th minute, and the last kick of the game. Those 3 minutes added time, so I think it was 90 plus 2.
Because
maybe 90 plus 1, because I feel like there may have been a minute of celebrations because it was absolutely just insane.
I'd prepared some a tweet that would have just been blown back in my face in a big way, like something about the immaturity of the team. It was quite scathing. And they go ahead and do that. I don't know. It's great in the sense that we got a very important 3 points. It was an amazing comeback. At the same time, we can't rely on 2 screamers per game against what is abject opposition at home to be the difference between success and failure.
Yeah, I agree. I think we're going to be very happy about this result on the pod, but I think we also have to feel like this is almost papered over a lot of cracks yesterday. Carlos Baleba papered over an awful lot of second half cracks, because I will actually be I have a lot of positive things to say about that first half. The second half felt like we just stopped playing football for 43 minutes and then we decided to pick it up. So it's like a real 2-halved kind of situation, and I'm really it's a strange one because it then ended in such a positive note. But I mean, let's obviously get started from the very beginning, and the third from last home game of the season. Just Newcastle and Liverpool left. We're obviously without Van Hecker as well. Did not pass concussion protocol, which is the least surprising thing in the world, right? I don't think he would have been eligible to pass regardless, given that it happened on Saturday and we played on Saturday. I think most sports now give a minimum 7 days, so. Although it wasn't explicitly said at the end of the game or anything like that, I think categorically it was impossible for Van Hecker to play yesterday. And good, thank God we're actually starting to give a shit about this stuff across sport. But it was a big moment in the selection because we do have Cashin, who we bought for £10 million in January, that we have obviously had a little bit of extra time to put more time into. But he wasn't selected. Carlos Baleba once again partnered Lewis Dunk at the back in that back 4. Other than that, not much change in the side. Weaver came in at right back. Hinchwood moved into centre midfield with Ayari. Adingra on the left. Obviously, we're still managing the pain Mike Mitoma's feeling. O'Reilly in that 10. March on the right. Big start for him. And then Danny Welbeck up top. Of course, no Ruta, no Pedro. Those 2 big attacking threats either out for the season or essentially banned for the rest of the season. What did you make of that starting 11? I mean, especially given the 2 big ones that you probably were talking about the most, the start of Solly March and Carlos Baleba once again getting the shout in centre back.
I looked at the team sheet and I was underwhelmed. Is probably the easiest way to describe it. Look, if if someone said a few games ago even that your starting back line would be Purvis Estupiñán, Carlos Baleba, Lewis Duncan, Matt Sweefer, I think, you know, there'd be some nerves about that, understandably so. I know there's been some calls to give Adingra game time as well, because he's not been getting that. There's been calls to get Solly March time. There's been calls to get Matt O'Reilly full game time. And the irony being is I think none of them capitalized properly on their ability to start the game. The exception for me is Matt Sweefer, who, I don't know about you, but I mean, I don't want him playing right back. I don't want him playing right back because if you're playing against a team that is going to be a little bit more focused on the counter attack than West Ham were able to, he gets caught out for pace every now and then. His positioning is a little bit questionable when it comes to defensive, but I actually think he offers a decent amount going forward, and his ability to cross the ball is actually quite good. So he was actually weirdly a bit of a standout for me there. But outside of that, I had question marks with the starting lineup. The positive that came out of this, which we'll get to later, is I think arguably the most successful substitutes that we've had all year. Like the subs were perfect.
Yeah. I mean, you're absolutely right on that last piece. O'Reilly, I don't really have anything good or bad to say yesterday.
That's a problem, though, isn't it?
Of course it is, yeah. But like, he was quiet, but his stats look quite good. So it's like one of those weird. But I'll talk a little bit about that later, because I was thinking, I was talking about it to the missus on the way home, and she thought the same thing. So if Brit is seeing it, then you know that like it's probably quite apparent. But
that's a thinly veiled insult there. You're gonna pay for that.
She's just the classic casual fan. Like, it's amazing that she's so into it now, because she is like the classic casual fan voice that I can get tuned into immediately. It's one of those like nice things that you can have. Like, the people that are like obsessed idiots like us, like, we don't see it the same way as like Brit does, who just loves, like, who's just like, yeah, I just hope everyone has a good time, right? And we win.
It's a rarity.
Yeah, it is. It doesn't ruin her whole week when we lose. Like, she's finished. She's forgot about it by 6 o'clock when we're like stopping at Taco Bell on the way home, right? It's like,
oh, God,
but yeah, I thought Weaver was great. Like, I really did. And like, for me, like, I still want to see him swap. Like, I want Hinchwood to go back to right back, and I want Weaver to go in the middle where he's supposed to be.
Why has this happened?
We, at times yesterday, especially in that second half, we looked, all of the negatives for me came from, one, the left side, which we'll talk about, and two, total lightweightness in the middle of the park.
Right.
That's Weaver is not that. Like, he's a big boy, and like, he caused so many problems on that right-hand side because of the physicality he had.
Yep.
And then also, as you said, going forward, he's not just good going forward, he's an absolute set-piece beast, by the way. Like, he scored at the game you were at, of course, from a set piece, and he almost did it again. He almost did it again. I mean, if that was anywhere else, and if Areola was positioned anywhere else, that's an immediate...
If Areola was positioned anywhere else, we'd live in a very different world.
That is true. Yeah, that is true. And he's honestly, like, I thought that header was excellent. I thought he did really well. And yeah, I thought for me, Solly was probably the biggest disappointment. I think he's going to really benefit from just having a full preseason and coming back next year, like fit and ready to go. It's like a horrible, like, starting from scratch on game 34. Like, it's a rough one, but I think we're lucky enough that we are, like, he's clearly coming back. He's ready to go, and he is 30 years old, and we've been coming into kind of like his absolute, like, peak for this next year, and then, you know, inevitably it should wind down a little bit. So I'm glad that we should see him fit and ready to go for next year. But yeah, I thought the lineup was pretty good. Other than that, most of the players did okay. And from the start, I don't have a lot of bad things to say about that first half. I don't know about you, but like, I thought we played really good football. I thought we played really well. I thought we were time and again quite open on the break, which is just constantly a problem. But I thought we played really well. And Yasin Ayari, of course, in just 13 minutes, gets us off to what was hopefully going to be an amazing start with an absolute banger. You're definitely not going to see a better goal than that all week, all game, right? That's the idea.
No, there's no way. Yeah. Nothing can top that.
But I mean, perfect first 15 minutes, don't you think? Like we came out, we attacked pretty well. Like they didn't offer too much of that first 15 minutes, and it was tipped off by an absolute banger.
Yeah, I mean, it was obviously you can't fault the start. I would say that they had plenty of chances. Well, I say plenty. They had chances themselves in the first half. It wasn't like we dominated. I mean, they had more possession than we did. I think it was equal in terms of total shots. So there was expected goals was almost identical, 0.27 versus 0.26. I don't think that factors in the disallowed goal that we had, which was a shame, where Adingra could have got a goal, which would have changed the look of his entire performance, I think. But outside of that, yeah, there wasn't too much wrong. You still saw the consistent problems that we have, though, right? You still saw the fact that we've got defensive weaknesses, positioning-wise defensively. There's still tons of question marks. We get caught on the break so unbelievably easy. Like I would, this is a weird thing to say, but like I would love to play against us as an opposing team, because you know you're probably going to concede. You know there's going to be some stuff that happens against you, but the opportunities that we give our opposition teams is mental. We saw that in the first half, and we saw more of that in the second half. I was going to say, while you're still on mute, obviously the positive is that obviously the outcome and what we did in some of those spectacular moments. But again, like what do the fan base think if we don't score 2 bangers? And I don't want to sidetrack us completely, but I'm just going off of the vibes from the group chat and the vibe of what we could hear from some of the fans and people leaving before the end. Like, this was an absolute monumental shift in the attitude of the fan base, because I think if you'd have polled people, if we'd have lost 2-1 yesterday and you'd have polled the people coming out of the stadium, I think more than 50% would have said, get rid of the boss, get rid of the manager, and start fresh. I genuinely think that.
I think I probably would have been in that camp. End of the season, obviously. I'm not just idiot. Like, don't do it now. There's absolutely no point in doing it now. But I think I would have been in the case of, okay, I've seen enough. Like, there's not enough here for me to feel like it's worth going onwards. And then I'm sat there thinking, like, but two absolute bangers has like suddenly changed my mind. Like, no, not really. I have all the same concerns I had prior to the game kicking off, right? Like, it's not even for like everything that we've seen. I mean, you've just nailed it, really. Everything we know is a problem showed up yesterday, but everything we know we're good at also showed up. Like, that togetherness when the team actually properly, like, it's the youth of them, right? Like, it's the youthful optimism, I think, of those players coming on and the team not giving up. Like, they are naive at times, but they're also in kind of a good way, right? Because a lot of them don't just like give up immediately. Like, a lot of them, especially when they come on, they fancy it, and that really helped yesterday.
Agreed. I mean, especially again, I want to do a whole part on the subs, just because I think you could talk about each of them, frankly, like in almost equal measure, because they were so impressive. I semi wonder what the game would have looked like if we'd have started all of those players, and whether we would have just been comfortably 2-3 up in the first half.
Well, there is one of those questions that I want to talk about when it comes to like primarily that front two that we had. But we'll touch a little bit on, I mean, obviously IR's first goal for the club. He's been very close more than once now. A couple of like absolute nut saves off of Pickford. A couple of like goals called off like for offside and stuff like that. But I'm sure he couldn't have picked a nicer way to open his account for us, could he? Like, what an absolute belting finish that one. It was almost like he just stud it up like a free kick and just bent it into the top corner. Like, that's just a normal thing he does.
I mean, it just, the curl on it was beautiful. I know it's funny. You've obviously just gestured towards it a little bit before, but you look at that and you go, yeah, we're not going to see anything better than that for a while. That's great. And then we just, obviously the shots were similar. It's not like Baleba normally pile drives them, but they were both like sort of Beckham-y style curlers, where they're way outside of the being on target, and then they just curl right back into the top corner. Superb. And I think we need to talk about Ayari a little bit more, because it's been a really streaky year for him, and you could probably say the same for most of the team, just given our performances. But him especially, we had his preseason form that was excellent. We came into the season, he started playing really well, fell off hard. Everyone called for him to be put on a bench, bring in anyone else, whatever. He did sit out a few games. He comes back in and he's almost had this sort of like mini renaissance. And yesterday, it wasn't just the goal. Obviously, the goal was spectacular, but his pass selection, his thought process when receiving the ball, his movement was also really strong. I remember seeing a couple of little moments of link-up play where he just felt like that goal gave him a bunch of confidence, and he looked mature on the ball. And that is very good to see out of a player that is that young and has that much potential. And I think if you want to take away something big from the game yesterday and remove the negatives, you need to look at some of the performances from the younger players and what they were able to do. And you look at this and you go, even if we don't get anything proper out of this season, we end up finishing 9th or 10th, there is a really bright future with a lot of the players at this club. Really bright. And obviously none brighter than the chap right at the end. But Ayari's up there. His potential is very, very, very high. You just want someone, you want Weaver next to him, to your point earlier, right? You don't want
Baleba, obviously.
Well, of course. Or you have the three, right? You have the two deep line and one sat in front of them. I think you can have those three interchangeable. Ayari sits a little bit forward. Baleba and Weaver almost act at these sort of really two like big defenders that are sat there. Baleba more of your box to box, and Weaver the man that can sort of sit there and be a little bit more holding. That's what I would do, but what do I know?
Yeah, I mean, that's almost like, it feels like the answer to games like this as well, which is like kind of, you'd think it's counterproductive, such a defensive lineup against a team that are going to sit back. But like, if you allow those fullbacks to bomb on in the way that they desperately want to, right? If you allow your Estepinians and your Kadioglus, right? Because we're talking next season, to fly forward, like you've then got a base of four still. Like Dunk can move out wide where he's comfortable as that wide centre back. You can have Van Hecker do the same, which is what he's done.
He might become. I'm not comfortable with Dunk being out wide, but yeah, he might be comfortable.
But when you think he doesn't have to run to cover because Baleba or Weaver are already doing it, like it presents such a different dynamic. Like it really does. Like I think that's one of those things that we hope to see in the future. We'll talk a little bit about another young player that was very hot and cold yesterday. The rise and fall and rise again of Bart Verbruggen across 90 minutes. Because in that first half, the save he made from a wide open Thomas Soucek, who is one of the biggest aerial threats in the Premier League, was left wide open about 10 minutes after our goal. And he made a great header. And Verbruggen, unbelievable save to tip it onto the bar. And then after they went in at halftime, we obviously allowed ourselves to be cut open in embarrassing fashion, let's be honest. And then he promptly lets the ball through his legs, like just inexplicably bad. And then goes on to make about 4 other excellent saves between then and the end of the game. Robin, welcome. What did you make of Bart's performance yesterday? It was it's just a strange one. I think that now makes him, if we're counting that as an error, I don't know if anywhere is neither SofaScore or Who Scored are counting that as a goalkeeper error for their goal. But he's up there with Onana still as the most error-prone goalie in the league, and then pulls off the saves he does. What did you think of that?
I mean, I think it summed up that entire game summed up all of the bits that we've said consistently are really good about him. Like his shot stopping, I don't think's ever really been in doubt. I think we've all consistently said his shot stopping's been excellent. His distribution, his kind of communication, and sometimes his decision making is what we've been a little bit worried about. So we saw him roll out like the best bits and the worst bits all in one game. It's a microcosm of Bart Verbruggen. And I don't know how I feel like if you to go overall, like sum it up out of 10, I think it'd be quite difficult. I think I'm landing more positive than negative, given that the save he makes from Souček is really important at that time. It's just a really good save. I think it's harsh to necessarily blame him for the first goal, and the second goal I think is an unbelievably good cross.
Yeah.
And B, I think if you look at it, we had 4 defenders in the box and they had 3 attackers, and yet the ball ends up on one of their attackers' heads. So I don't think Verbruggen's really at fault for much of it. So I think overall a pretty good performance, but still showing the areas of concern that we've consistently had about him.
Yeah, I feel like with him, this is a horrible comparison to make, maybe. It reminds me of David James. Obviously, he used to be referred to very harshly as Calamity James, right? Incredible goalkeeper. He's a very good goalkeeper at shot stopping, but you always felt, where's his mistake? When is he going to make his once per game mistake? We're at that point with Verbruggen right now. You can deny it all you want. You can talk about his potential. You can talk about him being an international. He's an excellent goalkeeper in a lot of ways. He makes so many mistakes. There's a mistake in him. It's not just the way we play. It's not just playing out from the back, whatever it is. Yesterday was a fundamental goalkeeping mistake when it comes to just the basics of what you do. Like, you cannot. His leg positioning was wrong. His hand positioning was wrong and flappy. Like, just the foundation of goalkeeping was not there yesterday. That's not good. And I say that as someone that sat in a chair and doesn't play football. But he will hate himself for that one. Is this going to be a situation where Verbruggen starts to rid himself of these mistakes over the course of the next few months, next few years? That's the hope. Then you have an absolutely astounding goalkeeper on your hands. Or is his career going to be a mixture of incredible snap reflex saves and shot stopping with the massive error every 1 or 2 games? That's the difference between a world-class goalkeeper and a goalkeeper that's just going to be a journeyman and, plies his trade at a lower half club. That's my honest assessment right now.
I think just to be not too harsh on him and add like an opposite argument that's absolutely going to be had if any self-respecting journalists bothered doing their homework, because Match of the Day didn't cover us at all yesterday despite scoring 3 goals and winning the game. The question has to be asked, is that the back line he has played with all season has essentially never been the same from the word go. How much does that impact a young goalkeeper's confidence throughout the season? Like, because I can probably count on one hand how many times he's actually played in front of the same back 4 in a row. Like, I imagine it's probably not been more than 3 games in a row all season that he has played. I was skimming back and I got to January and not once had he played more than 3 games in a row with the same back 4. I don't know how the openings up. Like, I just haven't got that far and I'm probably not going to carry on. But like, how many is that? Like, that's not good for any goalkeeper, right? Like, consistency is key. We talk about it in so many sports as well. It's not just the football, like quarterbacks behind defensive lines. Like, you talk about people changing coaches, like everything is like that. Like, that consistency part, like when you work so closely together, like for a young goalie too, like I wonder how much that affects the headspace. Like, if he had been playing with pretty much the same back 4 all season, a la Forest, right, who have been very fortunate this year to have played with pretty much the same back 4 all year, how much more comfortable would Bart Verbruggen be in some of those situations. Like I do wonder how much that makes a difference.
I think it does for some of them, because some of them, as we've seen, the breakdown has not been 100% on the goalkeeper. It's been moments where you go, you need someone to take charge in this situation, be that the goalkeeper or be that a defender. So I think not having those constant relationships built up probably does make a difference, but I don't think it exonerates him, to Adam's point, from making fairly fundamental goalkeeping errors that shouldn't really happen regardless of who's in front of you, if you're playing at an elite Premier League and international level. So I think I take your point, Josh. I think it's somewhat mitigation, but I think there's fundamental things there that shouldn't be happening regardless of who's in front of you.
We can blame everyone, because if you take a look at the first goal, and by the way, I agree with Robin. The second goal was, I mean, it's just an amazing ball in. Souček is big. Like, if you're gonna look at everything with a microscope, you can find problems and issues with that, and we shouldn't let him do that. We should have defended in this way and that. That one, I think you just give him a pass. That was just a good goal. The first one, error strewn throughout the entire process, and this does defend your point a bit, but it's not just the back line, it's the rest of the team and the shape that we take defensively, because the ball goes out to Wan-Bissaka on the right hand side, and Purvis's job is just to stand in front of the defender, right, and stop him running down the side. You've then got the runner in from the middle of the park. Was it Bowen?
It was.
Yeah, I think it was Bowen.
And
yeah.
Bowen was fairly excellent when he got the ball yesterday, right? Ayari is ball watching. Now, this goes back to the point that we made, right? You've got to have some defensive-minded players that sit in front of your back four. Well, you've lost one of them because Carlos Baleba is playing centre back. Ayari's not defensively minded. Hinchwood's playing the right-hand side and isn't worrying about this, and you've got no one else involved. Adingra is standing nowhere. So Ayari's ball watching. Bowen then just gets the ball. There's no one near him.
He's acres. Honestly, I've never seen that much room on a football pitch in that area for someone in the opposition to have the touch on the ball.
He's in the box. There's no one near him. It's already a goal, right? So if you don't want to blame Verbruggen at all, you could arguably say we've conceded already because of the lack of defensive formation there. Who's at fault? Bunch of people. Ayari predominantly because he was ball watching and didn't track his man. Carlos Baleba's positioned really poorly. You've got basically three players marking one player in the West Ham attack. I'm trying to remember who it was here. I think it was, who was the runner, number 11? Anyway, and then you've got Weaver, that's the one that's meant to be marking Kudus, and he doesn't do a particularly great job on that. But you've got three guys tracking the other West Ham runner, which I'm guessing is Souček or Ward-Prowse or one of them. Yeah, they saved it.
Yeah, he should have saved it anyway. It is quite annoying that we conceded so quickly after the half time, because I don't know about you guys, I don't know if you could hear it, but the crowd were massively on West Ham's backs. Like the fans had turned like fully on the club at 1-0 down in that last 10 minutes of the half. The entire time they were chanting about wanting full crew gone. Obviously, after coming out last week and kind of rinsing the entire club, they had chosen their side, and their side was the German. They were pro Nicholas Füllkrug and absolutely anti West Ham. Potter, the team, everything. They wanted him on. They were chanting that he was right. We're shy.
That was him in the middle, by the way. Fair point. I didn't realize he came on there. Yeah, that was him.
Yeah,
he was number 11, wasn't he?
Yeah, they were absolutely rinsing the team. And then obviously the substitution gets made at half time and the change of shape happens. Füllkrug comes on, Ward-Prowse goes off. And really, like, the whole thing changes its complexion then, because it's crazy idea, right? But like actually having a real centre forward play centre forward makes the team look quite a lot better. And Jarrod Bowen at that point then became a totally different player and really caused us an absolute shit ton of problems. 1-1, not a great vibe at the Amex. West Ham fans were a lot happier because Fulkrug was playing really well as well. And then came the substitutions that turned the tide slowly but surely. And they were on 62 minutes, Mitoma and Minte on for Adingra and Solly March. 2 wingers on, 2 wingers off. Essentially exact same swaps, right? That one goes out right, one goes out left. What were your thoughts on Adingra and Solly March's performance yesterday, Robin?
Solly March was pretty good, considering I think he said on Instagram it was his first start in 522 days or something like that. And we've seen him in his cameos over the last few weeks. He's looked our most consistent threat, and we know that we get the defensive work from him as well. I was pretty happy with him. Adingra's he's not having an ideal season, is he? He is probably one who's regressed probably as much as anybody in the squad this year. So I mean, he blows hot and cold as he ever did, but he's blowing a lot colder than he is hot at the moment. So I think most fans would have been pretty happy to see Mitoma and Minte getting ready to come on at that point, I think.
Yeah, I mean, we talked a little bit about Solly March. I thought it was, nothing particularly great, nothing particularly horrendous. I'll put myself in this position that could very well backfire. I'm good on Adingra at this point. Like, if he leaves the club, I'm completely okay with it. I don't know how many more chances we can give him, how many more times we can say, well, in the African Cup of Nations final, but whatever. The guys had more bad games than good at the moment, and I watched some of the highlights back at the game, and he does his patented cut-in just so often, and it's so predictable from a defensive standpoint. I think he gave the ball away
so many times.
Bunch of times.
Almost every counter-attack in that first half was triggered by Simon Adingra. It was horrible watching because I'm sure he's a lovely guy. Like, there's nothing about that lad that comes across as like he's selfish. Like, do you know what I mean? No, he doesn't have those like bad player traits either, personality player traits. Like, there's nothing that comes across that he's a bad player. He just it does feel like he's regressing like in real time, and like every single time he got the ball in that first half, it felt like it essentially was West Ham's best move. Was coming off of Simon Adingra every single time.
Well, I mean, in his defense, he doesn't get a ton of game time, does he? Right? Because you've got probably, depending on your perspective, probably our best player currently that's playing in the position in front of him. So he's not getting consistent game time. So he just gets the ability to come on, and can he be a change of pace substitute? And maybe that's not his thing. Maybe he just needs to be playing, more regularly. That said, as soon as he and March come off, there is a much, much different look in terms of our capabilities and our threat on both sides. Minte is obviously full of pace, and if he didn't slip over, probably would have scored at one point. And we know what Mitoma ultimately ended up doing, but just so much more quality on the ball, much more careful with the ball as well. So, look, I do think the club will probably bring another left winger or two in this summer. If Mitoma leaves, there's a big mark on the left side for me.
I mean, yeah, like a void. It would be bad. And I feel like at that point, like the screw started to turn on West Ham. We were becoming the better side again. We were playing pretty well. Not to like first half standards, which I thought was actually really good. But I thought we were turning it back on, like that. They kind of had their ascendancy. And then 10 minutes to go, we bring on Gomez and Gruder for Hinchwood and O'Reilly. Let's talk a little bit about the Hinchwood and O'Reilly. You said that you felt that Adam, prior to Robin joining, you felt that Ayari benefited from being benched for a few games. I am on that camp with Hinchwood at this point. I like him. I can see there's obviously talent there, obviously. I would love to see him take a few games off and we need to find what is his best position? What style of player is he going to be in said position? What is he going to... He is getting far too into the utility mold to me, where he is not putting together quality performances regularly. And I thought that bringing on Gomez, we looked better in the middle of the park. And Matt O'Reilly, don't think he did much wrong yesterday. More key passes than anybody else. He linked the play pretty well from midfield going forward. My biggest thing for him is that I have not seen two players look more out of sync and isolated from one another than Matt O'Reilly and Danny Welbeck yesterday.
Yeah.
It was so bad for me. It literally looked like they did not know each other was on the same team. And that was...
How often have they played together?
Oh, well, exactly my point, right? We're missing the Routers and the Pedros, and
I miss Georgie a lot.
It just looked bad. It looked like we were playing with 10 men going forward sometimes, and it was either one of the, they just looked so isolated from one another. And that is obviously an issue for both of them. It looked like a frustrating day out there for both of those guys.
Robin Wood, as head of the Hertzler Out fan club, what do you think?
I mean, I think at the moment we are obviously massively hamstrung by the options that are available. And I think that is really affecting it. I'm with Josh. I think Hinchwood needs to have a bit of a break, because we're exactly right. We need to know what his best position is. And I feel for him in the sense that he's had to play a lot. When he's been fit, he's basically had to play every game. You look over the last season and a half, pretty much, he's had to play every game when he's been fit. And so much of that has been at right back. So we're in this weird position where we don't actually know, he's not had a consistent enough run of games at centre midfield for us to know, is that his position? So in this weird situation where you go, ideally we'd rest him because he's played a ton of football and we don't really know what his best position is. But we're not going to find out what his best position is until we give him a run in central midfield. So it's a really bizarre situation to be in. And he is in danger of being, as we've said before, he's in danger of being hamstrung by the fact he's so versatile. I don't know what the future holds for him in that regard, because we're at the point where you go, because he's not really nailed down a spot either at right back or in centre midfield. There's still lots of talk of us adding players at both centre midfield and right back. So if you're signing more natural players in both of those positions, then does he not then continue in the same slightly weird state where we're not quite sure where he fits in?
He's 20. And this is a lot of football. He's shown flashes of brilliance as a player. Yesterday wasn't his best game. At the same time, he still had nearly 92% pass accuracy playing in the middle of the pitch. Would we be better if he had a rest at the moment? We gave some other players an opportunity. I think yes, in the sense that now for me, for the rest of the season, if Joel Veltman's capable, I'm playing Joel Veltman right back, and I'm putting Weaver in the middle, and I'm playing Weaver, Ayari, and Carlos Baleba. He doesn't have to play centre back, and we just see how that grouping goes. Now, can you bring Hinchwood on? What 100%? I think it'd be an incredible sub to come. He's going to probably head the ball home at some point, right? Because his weird speciality. But yeah, I would probably give him a break. But at the same time, there's a fantastic player there. It's just to expect excellence from a player that's 20, playing in 14 different positions, is too much.
Yeah, I agree. But I feel like that's why I want to give him a rest. Let's see what is. I don't know. I know that Weaver's best position is centre midfield, and he's playing well at right back. So like, I'd rather see him there, like as a bit more physicality in the middle of the park. I don't know. He goes off. Gomez comes on. Gruder comes on, and within about 60 seconds, that cross goes in, and Souček, again, as I said, unfortunately, great header of the ball, scores. The North stand behind me, I'm row E, so we're quite close. About 3 rows behind me, just exodus, vacate, gone. Fuming. I thought, oh boy, like there's going to be a lot of booing at the end of the game today. And then after about 86 minutes, I thought there may not be enough people left to boo. A lot of people up and left. For me, personally, I'm not leaving if we're a goal down. Never. Like, it's not worth it. Like, the idea of equalizing, or, I mean, what happened yesterday happening is too possible. I would never do it. I left against Forest. I have no regrets. Well, I think that was when we were 5 down. I did not see much of a way back into that game, and I left without many regrets. And I left at 3-0 down against Palace, and I don't care that I missed one single goal in stoppage time, because that would have probably just made me more annoyed. Other than that, I don't think I've ever left a game early. But I get that people do for a multitude of reasons. I'm not here to hate on people leaving the East Stand, right? It's like just been done to death on every podcast and every single message board and Twitter hashtag you can do. But the sicko in me is really finding it quite funny that they all left prior to this unbelievable turnaround that took place, especially those that were stood outside the terrace waiting for it to open. Which there were far more than there should have been. There was a video going around on TikTok. I don't know if you both have seen it, of someone after the at the final whistle interviewing fans who left early, and quite a lot of them are walking towards the bridge car park or on the train station platform. Fine, I get it, but there was an insane amount of people stood outside the terrace waiting for it to open. And they missed everything, which is just astonishing to me. How do you think those people are feeling? Like, not the people who left to get in their car and go home and avoid the A27 craziness, right? I get it. They're probably leaving at 86 minutes at 1-1, like, because they don't want to be involved. I get it. But leaving to stand outside the terrace, what are your thoughts on that? How do you think those guys feel?
I'm slightly more with like, I can't, unless you have a real emergency you need to leave the ground for. I can't even understand leaving the ground when you're a goal behind just to beat the traffic by half an hour. Like, I can't get my head in that. If you're not well or you've got a genuine reason to leave, obviously that's different. But presumably, if you've traveled from quite a long way to go to the game, right? Obviously, you're Josh. You're a case in point here, right? Like, if you've traveled 2-3 hours to get to a game, I'd say even more in that situation, it makes the journey worth it if you stay till the end. Like, if you're going to leave when there's still jeopardy in the game, why bother? Like, why bother coming in the first place? If, like, I can't get my head around it.
Because it's a nice day out. And no, let's be honest. There's a decent chunk of fair weather in the fan base. And by the way, like, I'm not judging any of that. For me, it's, you paid the money. You do what you want. You can use your money how you wish. If you want to leave, that's your choice. If you don't think the show is entertaining enough for you, in my opinion, it's your money. You do what you want. Now, does that jive with a passionate fan base where you want, like, real hardcore fans being there the entire time, put the atmosphere in? No, of course it doesn't. At the same time, this is a nice karmic event for those people to understand what can happen and why you should stick around, because they now will regret that for a long time. They will. And hopefully now that doesn't happen again, because they, especially if, you know, if we make European football, gigantic if, this moment is the moment. This is the
Oh,
moment,
absolutely.
and you missed it.
Yeah, I mean, I saw someone on Norstand chat. They were asking like, who left? I own up to it, and someone said they left yesterday, and they also left before the McAllister penalty. So that's potentially 2 European defining moments, right? Like, I couldn't imagine, like, oh, that would just be awful. But obviously, the big subs come on, and the change in pace in that last 10 minutes felt very much just attack versus defense, right? Like they really presented nothing at that point. They were fully backs against the wall. They tried to hit us on the break a couple of times, but let's give credit where it's due. Lewis Dunk, imperious at the back yesterday in so many ways. Read the game beautifully. Cut out, I think, 2 counterattacks in the last 10 minutes that immediately piled pressure back on. That 6 weeks ago probably would have resulted in another goal for West Ham. Really good from Dunk. And Baleba, who absolutely is not a centre-half. It was just reassured me yesterday that boy should not be playing centre-half as little as possible. He's just not comfortable there. He's so desperate to go further forward. But in a situation like that last 10 minutes where he's just essentially playing sweeper on the middle, like the halfway line, imperious again. Like, phenomenal reading it. Read it.
Oh, it was so good that you're choking up thinking about it.
I am.
There was a moment in the first, was it the first half, where like Baleba just sprinted forward into the box, like got the ball and almost scored, and he like missed. He tried to do a step over and he knocked it out wide instead of going inside, and he could have very easily scored at that point. But yeah, you're right. He wants to go forward. But I mean, let's talk about the goal, because I mean, it's just a. Let's do it. We've got to drop the reference. It's a Football Manager orgasm, this goal, because
we haven't talked about Mitoma yet.
That's what I'm talking about.
Oh, okay.
Because you sat there, you're trying to tinker around, and you bring on 4 guys, and they all play a part in the goal. Like, that's magical stuff. Because for some reason, Minte is playing on the left at this point. You get Minte cuts in right. Passes to Diego Gomez. Gomez finds that West Ham have decided, in their infinite wisdom, to not mark anyone at the back post and just leave Brajan Gruda just sat there on his own completely, which was a questionable decision for them to make. Once they took Emerson off, and that's on Potter, and Gruda's there, just donks the header in, and Mitoma finishes off. Every single one of your subs are the ones that created that goal. For the Hertzler out boys, not mentioning any names in this this group here, how do you feel about that? How does the crow taste?
Oh, it's a good goal. It's dreadful defending, but it's a really good goal. I think Kilman is the one who I think should be marking Mitoma, and assumes, I think, that everyone's going to be offside looking at him. I can't really work out what he's doing defending wise, but essentially thinks that the ball is going to be headed forward into an offside position and not just headed back into the path of Mitoma. It's a great goal. I mean, we've seen, it was quite reminiscent of that João Pedro winner against Man United, wasn't it? Where again, they just decided to not mark anyone at the back post and just leave acres of space. Very intelligent from Gruda. I know he's had his frustrations. I think you can label similar. I know, Adam, you've got your Adingra, cuts in every time. Gruda has a similar tendency, from what I can see so far, to do the same. So no, I mean, it was a really good goal, and I think it's one where over the past few games, I can't imagine us being in the position to score it, because the attitude in the past few games has not been there. Whereas this one, no one panicked seemingly when West Ham scored their second goal. Whereas in the last few weeks, I think it would have ended, to your point, Josh, it would have ended 3-1, I think, in the last few weeks. But no one dropped there. No one seemed to panic, which, for that good run we had post-Forest, where we won 6 games or whatever it was, one of the hallmarks of that run was the fact that the attitude was spot on pretty much throughout games, whether we were in front or behind. no one was really out of place when it came to what they were thinking. So yesterday, that was a pleasant return to that. And yeah, really good goal.
At that point, pressure piled on massively. 78% possession after the goal to the end of the game. They just had nothing. They immediately just shit their pants. And almost, we had a good bit of build up and immediately got ourselves a corner with like 91 minutes on the clock. Only 3 minutes added time was probably the lowest I've seen in a long time at the end of a football game, I feel like. Came through. I think it then went back into the box where Areola punched it out. And it ended up going all the way through to Gruder again, who just laid it back for Carlos Baleba. At that point, Estepinian is opening himself up for the ball. Dunk is pointing out wide to push it out left. Bart Verbruggen behind him is screaming at him to push it out left. And Carlos Baleba, being who Carlos Baleba is, says, absolutely not. I'm digging this into the bottom corner. And when he hit it, I literally thought, from my angle and depth perception, because it's like a little weird on that like edge of the goal, like it almost looked like he was spreading it out wide, like on initial hit. And then the next thing, as I follow the ball, it's like I'm following it into the net. And then it's just like absolute carnage, obviously. Baleba is doing backflips, front flips. Ayari's like absolutely aghast at him doing it. The crowd's going mental. The East Stand's losing their shit. Hertzler's up and down like prime De Zerbi levels of celebration on the other end, on the other touchline. And it's just absolute carnage. And I mean, what a finish.
Do you know what struck me? It's so nonchalant, right? That's what took me by surprise watching it. It was like the way that he approached it was not like he was taking a shot. I'm with you, Josh. It looked like he was just casually spreading the ball wide. But he just seemed so unfussed. It wasn't like he's absolutely gone up and just smashed it. It's like from 35 yards out, he has placed this ball with, I mean, it's like, to bring it back to golf, Adam, it's Rory McIlroy on the 15th hole or whatever it was, where he's just started the ball about 40 yards to the right of where it needs to be, and it's just drifted back in. And it's just, I don't think I've seen a goal from that distance before.
You haven't. This is the furthest goal outscored by a Brighton player in the Premier League era, I believe. I think I saw that, right?
I mean, yeah, I guess you're probably going back to Steve Sidwell from the halfway line before that, aren't you, in the Championship? But yeah, I mean, it was just so casual, just to do something like that, you know, when you can get in a situation where, and this comes back again to the clarity of thinking that we've not had the last few weeks. When you're in a situation like that, where the momentum is with you, and it's, you know, you can really get to the stage where you're just chucking balls into the box, you know, doing anything to try and fashion a chance. And he's just slowed it down and realized no one's closing me down here. The goalkeeper's not in any way expecting a shot. And he's just gone, do you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to really casually just pop it round their defense and into the bottom corner. Thanks very much. Like it was so nonchalant. I can't get over it.
My favorite part of it is, just real quick, one of my favorite parts of this entire goal is that in the greater scope of things, Brian Gruder has just absolutely scammed an assist out of this.
Yeah, as Doom has said, he came on, gets 2 assists. One was just a dink header when he's unmarked, and the other one is just passed the ball 2 yards with no one on. What a ridiculous little couple of stats to get yourself. Look, if there was ever any doubt that Carlos Baleba wasn't a world-class player that's going to go on to incredible things, I think this moment is enough to basically say you were wrong on that. He is truly a world-class talent. I don't know how this club has managed to go from Yves Bissouma to Moises Caicedo to Carlos Baleba. I just can't fathom it. I can't think of a hierarchical set of players playing in the same position over the course of the span of 3 to 4 years that are that good in succession. Unbelievable. And again, playing out of position, not his best game, and has the confidence to do that. very easily could have just gone absolutely nowhere. And everyone would have gone, oh my God, classic Brighton. Why did he do that? Because how many times have we seen Purvis and him just
Yeah.
spank 'em, and they've just gone nowhere? And this was different from him. Like I said earlier, it wasn't a pile driver. It was that weird, he's just like, no, screw it. I'll just bend it in. Don't worry about it. And Areola couldn't see because West Ham had 45 people behind the ball. And so they're sort of architects of their own downfall, really. But I mean, what were the vibes like, Josh? What were the vibes in the stadium?
Carnage
With the
Absolutely
5 people
insane.
left.
Yeah. It was absolutely mental. It really was. Like the people who were left, like we just absolutely lost our shit. Like it was absolutely insane. And yeah, I mean it was great. And obviously the final whistle goes like 30 seconds after the kickoff resumes. And yeah, it's just like everybody's absolutely buzzing. Like, how can you not be? I saw someone, I think it was on North Stand chat, say, here it is. You get 1, maybe 2 times in your life where you witness your team score 2 in stoppage time to go from losing to winning a game. And today was that. Like, that is like incredible. Like, it really barely ever happens, right? I think I can only remember 1. And it wasn't actually going from losing to winning. It was just going from draw. The Doncaster game, first game ever at the Amex. It gives me it's those sort of vibes, isn't it? Where everything happens so quickly in like a frame of mind where like you're just like, it's just like delirium. Like, and like it may mean nothing. Maybe nothing. Maybe the difference between 10th and 9th, right? Like, but being there in the moment is absolutely insane. And it's busted my voice, which is why I can't keep finishing sentences because I lost my voice so bad on the drive home. And I'm still struggling keeping extended sentences going now because I feel like I just want to cough all the time because my throat is so like sore.
And do you know what's actually is it's going to sound like quite a strange point, but generally when we get these late winners or these clutch moments, it's normally João Pedro at the heart of it, right? So it's quite nice, I think. It's quite useful to have somebody else stepping up in those situations when it's not João Pedro.
It is, especially after he's not the most popular guy around at the moment, is he? Let's face it. This is let's also put this into more perspective, right? And you can semi-understand why people left. We hadn't won a football game since the 8th of March. It was the 26th of April yesterday. Like, we've been abject. We couldn't beat Leicester. Like, fell apart against Brentford. Like this has been a tragic set of games for us. So it's different when you sort of like scumbag a win against West Ham. Like we won 1-0 with a sort of a rebound in the box or something like that. That's different. This was a guy that steps up and just scores a worldie to change the perception of this club over the course of the closeout of the season for the next 4 games. That's gigantic. Like that is massive. Yeah. What else do you say?
Yeah, just insane. And for us, I mean, huge result in terms of the Premier League. Bournemouth losing out at the last minute today to United due to getting their own player sent off is also a brutal one for them to take. So we sit in 9th now, joint with Fulham on 51 points, Bournemouth just a point below us. None of it is going to matter if Crystal Palace win the FA Cup, as they are now.
They will, obviously.
They are going to play the winner of the game that we're currently talking about while we're live. So we've got Forest and City currently playing, and City are winning 1-0 at the moment. If they win, 8th place is dead and gone, so it doesn't even matter. But obviously the hope is that doesn't happen. But most of the rest of the Premier League has been all but wrapped up. It really is almost the only thing left is the race for Europe. Ipswich were officially relegated yesterday, which is, kind of has been coming for about 8 weeks. Leicester are long gone. Southampton are hilariously long gone. And that's really all that's left. There is a huge gap forming in terms of with only 4 games to go with us in 11th place now with Brentford. 4 points is usually nothing with 4 games. starts looking bigger and bigger, doesn't it? So it looks like it is a 3-horse race for 8th place with Bournemouth, Brighton, and Fulham, and we are kind of right in the mix of it, which is bizarre to say, given some of the performances we've put on
and
lately.
all three of us have got similarly difficult run-ins. No one's got a particularly easier run-in than anybody else, I don't think.
Yeah, I was looking at it yesterday. So Fulham have Villa, Everton, Brentford, and Man City, which is obviously a horrible run. Bournemouth have Arsenal, Villa, City, and Leicester, which is probably marginally better solely on the Leicester piece itself. And then we have Newcastle, Wolves, who have suddenly become incredibly good. Liverpool and Spurs. So yeah, they're all horrible runs, really. Like every single one of us could come away with like 2 points in 4 games and wouldn't even be a shock. So it is a weird situation. But as I say, if Palace now go on and win the FA Cup, none of it will matter, which is kind of just one of the most classic Brighton things ever, isn't it?
Yeah, it'd be very nice if they didn't do that. Well, I can't believe we're ultimately going to have to sort of be cheering Man City to win a trophy. Like, it's sort of bleak, isn't it? But here we are. I think Bournemouth are done. I think they are absolutely chefed up at this point because they just lost Evan Nilsson, got sent off for assault, and horrible tackle.
Yeah,
and Tyler Adams, people talking about him should have been sent off as well. I know they can't do anything about that, but Bournemouth have lost so many players, and they've now lost Evan Nilsson again. So they're not going to score anything. Their form's been pretty bad as well over the last few games. So really, I think we're competing with Fulham, who haven't been particularly good either, right? They won against Southampton, but before that, the last few games, they've not been particularly impressive apart from that freak Liverpool win. So Villa, depending on how they play, I think that's going to be very challenging for them. Who knows where City are going to be on that final game. But I don't know. I think if I were a gambling man right now, I'd say we don't make it. Regardless of what happens with Palace, our goal difference is obviously the weakest out of everyone right now, that little grouping. But we'll see. We'll see if Hertzler can successfully rally this group, because we'll learn a lot about Hertzler over the course of the next 4 games, I think. If everyone gives up and we just end up 10th, that's not going to sit well. It really isn't. Because I think with the end of De Zerbi's tenure at the club, I don't think De Zerbi was out of the club with 4 games left to play at the end of last season. We're on a horrible run of form.
Yeah, we were.
He wasn't out. But the way in which that season ended and then his demands were what tipped it over the edge. Hertzler could very easily do similar. Now, if he comes out and the team puts in amazing performances for the last 4 games, then that's a very different outlook for next year. The Newcastle game for me is going to be very, very, very challenging. And I'm not excited about watching that game.
Well, it'll be next week, so you've not got long to wait. Elsewhere, I like doing this end of the season, just a league roundup, because it's interesting. Barnet secured promotion out of the National Conference this week. York, Forest Green, Rochdale, Oldham, Halifax, all in those playoff places. That's a lot of kind of old school names still then coming back. We've had a lot of promotions and relegations take place in League Two. Doncaster, one of those yo-yo clubs, back into League One. Port Vale, a team that, honestly, I wasn't even sure was going to exist 5 or 6 years ago, back into League One, which is nice to see. Bradford doing well. Walsall, Notts County, Wimbledon, Salford, all sitting around in that playoff spot as well. Grimsby not far out. Carlisle and Morecambe, never relegated. Morecambe, and now they're relegated twice in 3 years, I think it is. So that streak is brutally over. And then Birmingham, obviously, have cruised to championship status. And quite hilariously, Shrewsbury, Cambridge, Bristol Rovers and Crawley Crawley are likely to be relegated this season. If they fail to win, well, no, actually, I think they are basically categorically relegated. Looking at the goal difference, they're done. So the highlight of Crawley's season was breaking Matt O'Reilly's ankle before then going on to shit the bed for the rest of the season. So that is talk of karmic situations there, Adam. It's nice to see. And then I guess the one that most people are talking about in the casual sphere is Wrexham getting promoted to the Championship. How much of a buzzsaw do you think that team run into, the Hollywood boys run into when they hit the Championship? Do you think they're aware of how many disgustingly inhumane billionaires run football clubs at that level?
Cool. Help if I unmuted myself. The other thing is that the spending rules have changed, haven't they? So they're not going to be able to spend their way out of the Championship.
I'm not sure they can. I think this is like their level, isn't it? It's going to be interesting to see how that all falls out, because like them or hate them, the publicity is absolutely there, and everybody pays attention to them a little bit in terms of the media. So it will be interesting to see how they react to that. Stockport are not far off a Championship return either, fellas. Like, talk about a random team coming back up, and Leyton Orient as well.
Leyton Orient.
Yeah.
Does it show you that I think there's not, because to your point earlier, Josh, about the number of sort of historically big EFL clubs that are in the National League, there's actually, I don't think there's necessarily that big a gap between the National League and sort of League One, really. The number of teams you see going back to back is quite a lot.
Well, hopefully we don't have to worry about any of that for quite a while.
Agreed.
Because it's very, very nice for those of them that have managed to secure promotion. But I mean, the way the Premier League, this is the best and the worst season of Premier League football I think we've seen in quite a while, in the sense that there's absolutely zero peril at either end of the table. But we have the closest European run that I can remember.
Yeah, I can't think of anywhere near as close, honestly.
It's crazy. Like, it's 3rd to 6th, they're separated by 2 points. Like,
Yeah.
And 8th to 10th, including us, 1 point. What? It's crazy.
Yeah. And it's even crazier when you think Manchester United and Spurs aren't even in there. Like, none of those groups contain Man U and Spurs, which makes it even more mental. Plymouth, Wayne Rooney's old boys are relegated, which made me a little bit sad. Cardiff are binned off as well. We do have a beauty of a final day in the Championship, which seems just par for the course every year at one end of the table or the other. Hull, Luton, Preston or Derby or Stoke can all be relegated.
Luton, what happened
on the final day? Yeah. So we're going to have 1 in 5 teams can go down on the last day, and they are all very much in there with a chance of being binned off. And I imagine we're going to be in a situation where like every team at one point is being relegated, because I love those situations like as the game goes on. But Stoke are playing Derby, so that's going to be juicy because they have to play each other. But yeah, it's absolute carnage. And then obviously at the other end of the table, one that actually pertains to us, Burnley and Leeds already promoted, absolutely romped the Championship, 97 and 94 points respectively. Burnley absolutely destroyed QPR 5-0 yesterday, despite winning promotion. Take notes, Albion, when we decided to go on a 4-week bender. Playoff places: Sheffield United, Sunderland, Bristol City, Coventry. Final day of the season here. We're looking at Borough, Blackburn, Millwall, Coventry possibly making it into that group, Bristol City as well. Out of those names, Adam, who do you fancy joining Burnley and Leeds up in the Premier League? Sheffield United, Sunderland, Bristol City, Cov, Millwall, Blackburn, Borough. Anyone stand out of those names just for any reason whatsoever that you would like to see grace the Premier League?
Give me Millwall, because it would just be funny. I want all the Premier League clubs to have to go and play at Millwall, and just the overall abuse that will occur there would be quite funny. Outside of that, Coventry would be quite quite nice because I think they were they were in the Premiership back in 94, 95 kind of time.
They were definitely there even just before the 2000s as minimum, because I went to a game for one of my friend's birthday parties who was a Chelsea fan. We went to watch Chelsea Cov, and that was in like 98, 99, something like that.
Yeah, I think they were there for a few years,
so they
weren't
for
they?
quite a while, yeah.
Bristol ever been in the Premier League? Bristol City?
Bristol City, I don't think have ever been in the Premier League. I really do not think they have been.
We know it's invariably just going to be someone miserable. That it's going to be like Sheffield United, and they'll do nothing and go back down. But it would be nice to get something slightly different, like what happened to Luton last year, as in you just get a different flavour. That'd be nice.
And Ipswich this year as well, right? Like it was a novelty, and I'm kind of sad that they were as bad as they were, because it was nice having a different team up. But I agree. Give me Coventry, give me Bristol, give me Millwall for the memes, and I wouldn't even mind Blackburn coming back because they're one of those like really old heads, right? Like first ever winners at the Prem when it changed. I think that would be cool.
They should be a Premier League team. And Tim talking about coming up in 1979. Yeah, not in the more in the Premier League era. Obviously, they've not been in the Premier League, but the Blackburn would be nice. I mean, you think back to that Blackburn team. God, they had Shearer and Sutton for that.
They did, yeah.
They were a big team, and then I guess it was the Venkies that came in, and everything went all awry. It was the Venkies, yeah. Which is a
Morton
bit sad.
Pedersen.
Morton Gamps Pedersen, you remember him? He was very good, wasn't he? But I think the Premier League is better off with a like them or hate them with the Leeds in it.
I think so too.
It's just another club where you think back a few years ago, playing Champions League football, right? With your sort of Viduka Kuhl era, right? Who else did they have then? They had a bunch of people. Jonathan Woodgate.
Yep.
God, I'm trying to remember. Who did they have centre midfield? They had that really annoying guy. Who was it?
I mean, that could be anyone.
It was a shithouser. I can't remember his name. Anyway, who was it that managed him? Well, why am I blanking on his name? No, that's gonna bug me. Leeds manager. I've got to look this up.
I have no idea.
I can't believe I'm blanking on it. Play some music while I look this up. Do we have that?
We don't have that, unfortunately, for you. Yeah, I mean, I would love to see
David O'Leary. Sorry,
David O'Leary. That is a good name. Yeah, I would love to see him come back up. Any of those sort of teams. I just have no passion for Sheffield United or Sunderland personally. They're just so. I think I've seen Sunderland come up and down, and they're like Norwich. I just don't care. Are the fans better, quote unquote, than like that? Like, yeah, like Sunderland fans love it, right? Like, I get it. Stadium is rocking and would be in the Premier League. I'm sure it'd be packed. It'd be a great atmosphere. But would I rather that or Bristol City? Give me Bristol City every day of the week. Like, that would be so much more fun. Like having a team come up for the first time in a very long time. I mean, in our lifetimes, right? Like if, like Tim was saying, Bristol City came up with us in 1979. We were both. When were you born? I was 1990.
87.
So I'm not sure when Bristol City went last down, but odds are we were not sentient when Bristol City were in the top division.
There's no way we were even glimmer.
So Tim in the chat saying football was far better before the Premier League rolled up. Couldn't tell you either way, mate. I was born when I was 3 years old when the Premier League rolled up. So
everyone gets nostalgia for the times where they were in their formative years watching sport. Like I'm not saying Tim's wrong necessarily, but everyone looks back to when they were like 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Whatever they watched at that time is the glory era for the sport. And I would say the same, right? Because back in that time, I mainly think about international football then, when you get the Brazil teams with your Ronaldinhos and your Ronaldos and things like that. It was when football felt like proper peak. And and you also had, you know, Dennis Bergkamp era and that type of thing. If you go back and look back at the football that was actually played there and you compare it to now, though, I mean, it's a different sport. I know it's cliche to say it, but players are slow. They're just trotting around. The game plans are like naive. Like if those legends, if those teams played against the teams today, it would just be shocking. Like the difference of like pure athletes that exist today is crazy. Has the romance gone? Because now it's almost like the art of football seems to be perfected. Like, has Pep Guardiola killed the joy? In some ways, yeah. But it's the same with everything. It's the same, you know, people that if you're into video games or whatever, it's all fun when the game gets released and people have no idea what they're doing. And everyone's like, oh my God, this is amazing. Look at all of us. We're all having fun. And then people will then start to min-max and all the joy is gone. And it's just like, how do we do it as perfect as possible and ruin the experience for everyone else? That's football now. And there's a bunch of money in it from inhumane sources too. So I sort of agree with Tim in a roundabout way. Yeah,
no, I so do I. It's one of those things that's just, the meta like might shift, but at this point, the process it becomes a process. It's not fun. Like it's just for the people running it. For us, watching Baleba whip one in from 40 yards at the end of the game is still amazing.
You can never take that away.
You can't. It was, it's just phenomenal stuff. But yeah, I agree. Like for me, like I just think back like Thierry Henry as well, like that Arsenal team, like love them or hate them, whatever you think about them now, but like that Arsenal team with Vieira and Henry and Pires and Ljungberg and like just that group, like absolutely nuts. But like you're right, like put them in a team now, like give them a year's worth of conditioning, like that would be an unbelievable. Like those against Pep's City at its peak.
But also look back at the time, what people were saying about some of the people were talking about, not that Arsenal team necessarily, but parts of it, like the Invincible team, which had featured a bunch of those players. Famously, it was boring Arsenal.
Yeah, it was.
So you win 1-0. Football's boring. How dull is this?
They always try to walk it in.
Yeah, we always forget about these things. We always forget about this stuff because the nostalgia kicks in. Like, there'll never be a time like that. Well, it was kind of, some of it was boring.
Yeah, that's what's happening now, right? Like boring City. Everybody said the same thing. Boring. You said it yourself. There's no team in the Premier League you dislike watching more than Man City when they were 1-0 up. Like
they're doing it now.
They're
doing it as we speak.
They are doing it as we speak. All right, we will be back next week to cover the Newcastle game, which I suspect we will be going live at full time because we kick off at 2:00 on Sunday. So I expect we will probably be going live at full time, if that sounds all right. And then, we'll be, I think a lot of leagues come to an end next week as well before playoffs begin, which is also one of my favorite times as a neutral to watch playoffs because it's provided the best of times and the worst of times for us, of course. Swindon, unbelievable. Palace, the stuff of nightmares. So, we will be back next weekend. Massive one for us in this chase for Europe. May all end up meaning nothing if this FA Cup victimizes us, but it is a big game. And as you say, for Hertzler, these last 4 are massive when it comes to his future and mentality of this club. So,
agree. I'll see. Fun times. Thanks all.